Pat, what made this the right time for you, the right opportunity to kind of jump back into a full-time role and come back to rugby?
Well, really, Greg Schiano. He really did. I mean, I was with Greg last year we both did a clinic, and I was in between jobs, and I had some situations I could have went to, and he mentioned that, he really could use my assistance down here. And I was here, as you know, in the 80s with Dick Anderson, and I was here 8 years, 2 years with Doug, and then I left and went on to some other things. And then even though, when you're at a place for 8 years now, it grows on you, and Rutgers grew on me. And I really love being the underdog, and we were the underdog back in the 80s, all right? And we built it up, we beat, as you well know, Penn State, Michigan State, and that's what I shared with the players when I came here last year. We're playing a game, and anybody can win the game, all right, as long as you believe you can win the game. But getting back to your question, it's something that, I discussed with my wife, and we built a home in 2004 in Bergen County, and she loves the home, and I went after the Giants a couple other places, but she commuted. And, if it was anybody else here, I probably wouldn't have done it. But when Greg asked me to do it, it was a no-brainer for me.
You talked about Greg being the reason why. What specifically about Greg do you see that made you such a believer in him?
Well, Greg is a coach that I believe in, and I believe in his program. And I'm not talking about any time the previous stop he was here before he went on. But we were really trained by the same type of people. I was mentored on the offensive line played by Dick Anderson, who I still coach and teach the way he taught me when I was his assistant. And even through the NFL, leading the NFL and rushing, the 2 Super Bowl, everything that he has taught me. So Greg was also brought up in that type of family, as you say, in coaching. And, Greg and I were here together, in the 80s too. So, again, it was something that was a natural fit. I didn't have to be concerned about what I believe in what he's teaching. I know I would. And that's something that really excited me.
You mentioned being around last year. You've seen a lot of these players from last year to now. Are there any players that have taken significant jumps that you're kind of excited about, whether that be from last year in the spring, et cetera?
Well, as I tell the offensive line, we're not going backwards, all right? We're going forward. And I'm excited about this group. I really am. I think that the talent level here that Coach Anna put together the last few years is really, really going to be exciting for Rutgers football. The offensive line group has a growth to them, a maturity that they have to hit, and we're making it faster maybe than they want to be. But I'll tell you this: they are locked in every day in the meeting room. They give everything they have out in practice, and that's all you can ask for as a coach, and that excites me. And I tell the guys all the time, even though I don't have the brown long hair I used to have and the goatee and all that, it still excites me to come to work every day. And the day if it doesn't, then I won't do it. But I don't foresee that in the near future. I really don't, because when I walk in that room, these guys are excited, all right, to learn, okay? And they're excited to be the best they can be. And that's all we ask them to do. Do our part of the team, all right? But we can also lead the team. And when you do that as an offensive line, you're going to have a good team. And that's where we're steadily improving. We're talking about it every day. And more importantly, we're going to come out and work, all right, to make sure that we're able to do that.
When you're working with someone like Scott Vallone, what does that do for the position unit, for you as a coach, and just the program as a whole?
Well, Scott was a great player here at Rutgers, and he was taught by a man that we, Coach Schiano. So his values and his coaching habits are great. He's been coaching with the offensive line the last few years, and he's learned a lot from the previous offensive line coaches, and he's willing to learn. And he's an excellent football coach. He's excellent around the players. He has a relationship with these players because he helped recruit them, and he has given me tremendous insight.
Coach, Holland Pierce has started the last couple of years at right tackle. What have you seen from him this spring, and where can he continue to grow?
Well, Holland has unlimited potential. It's not been tapped yet. His parents gave him the size, obviously, and boy, you don't find somebody that big and that athletic like he is. I said last year watching tape that, when this guy gets moving, he can flip his hips and keep his hips behind his shoulders as well as I've seen. And I've seen a lot of good ones, from that standpoint. Now, he's a young player that in the past that had a couple nicks and he missed the weight room. He's been full bore in the weight room this year, and it's really shown.
Do you have any pictures of you with the long hair and the goatee?
I do. You have to Google me. I think you don't Google the last picture, right? All right, that with that team down south, an NFL team. All right, that didn't last very long. But I actually showed some of the players I had, and I get all kinds of things from former players from Rutgers I had, and most of it's good, but some of it's kind of ribbing me a little bit. But yeah, that's what you see. I have that long black brown hair and a lot of hair.
But Coach Yano talks about this being a developmental program, and how does your NFL experience fit into being a developmental program and being a developmental teacher?
Yeah, that's a great question. I coach these guys like I coached any player I ever coached, including the Pro Bowl players, the All Pros. It hasn't changed. It really hasn't. And the game of football is a game of football. You have to be able to execute the blocking part of it. You have to, you have to be able to come off the ball and your techniques. And the techniques that I've taught for 40 couple of years are the same techniques that we're talking about today, and it's no change. I mean, it's really, and again, it's exciting because, a lot of times in the NFL, you get veterans that come in from other teams, and you sit down and speak with them, and, they have their own way to get in a stance. They have their own things, and I always told the veterans, if it works for you, I'm not going to fool around with it, but if it doesn't, you're changing it. All right. Well, with the college players, we teach the stance. Okay, the same stance I've always taught. And more importantly, we coach the stance. And I said that the other day at the coaches clinic because I really believe this. That as coaches, we teach a lot of things, but sometimes we forget that we need to coach it. All right, and that's one fundamental that we always coach here at Rutgers.
Time for two more.
Coach, at this point in spring practice, you've had a lot of reps with this unit, and I'm just curious to see what stands out to you about this group at this point of the offseason that you think will help them contribute and grow in the Big Ten.
Well, we're growing, all right, we are, and we're not there yet, But if you talk to me at any time, you probably won't get a satisfied answer. It really won't, because we're always gaining to get better. We are. But I'm really pleased with the way these guys are working and where they're correcting techniques and fundamentals and assignments. And as long as we do that, which we will, all right, we will do that because that's what we've established in the offensive line room. And it's not about me. And I say that to the players all the time. It's about them. Everything that you do in life, you need somebody to lead, okay? And I'm just going to instruct, but they got to do it. All right, and when we had the scrimmage on Saturday, one thing that we and I told them before we went out, you're going to go out and play. Coaches aren't on the field on game day. You got to be able to make corrections. You got to talk to one another. It takes 5 of us, and we got to lead everybody out there. So they really grew from Saturday scrimmage in that aspect that they talk to one another. Even when they come off the field, I corrected them, but I didn't spend a lot of time with them because I want them to talk amongst one another. They have to grow from that aspect and be more mature about it, and they are.
You've coached a lot of different individuals, successful. What do you look for in an O-lineman, and what do you ask from them?
Well, that's a great, you want the big, strong, fast guys, and more importantly, you want, obviously you want guys that are intelligent, but you're not going to have everything like that. So the one common denominator is you want guys with passion. And in this position that I coach, the offensive line, you really are fortunate as an offensive line. Very rarely do you got a guy that's just, off the charts from listening, doing what you ask him to do. We got the best group, and as a coach, you want to just strengthen that foundation to be able to do it. But what I'm looking for is guys that are going to show up every day, okay, from the time that they get on this field in pre-practice to work on the craft, because we will never, and I will never, after all the years I coach this, if I ever feel like I'm coming to work and not learning something, I'm in the wrong business. And I say that and I believe it. Somebody's going to teach me something I haven't heard in a while. Maybe I heard it, okay, but I forgot it. Well, as a player, right, you have to have that same attitude. If you sit there in the room and we're going over combination block, for example, and if you heard so many times you say, I got it, guess what? You don't got it. All right, it's gonna get you when it gets you. All right, so that's the attitude that we need to have, and that's kind of what that I'm working. We are working, with Scott Vallone and Alex Officer and PJ Barr. I got a lot of help now. I got a team within a team, and the offensive line is a team. Okay, but I have a coaching team that really I'm very fortunate to have. From different levels of experience, but the common denominator with those guys is they're willing to learn, and I'm willing to teach them. But that's that's kind of it's about the offensive line. It's about teaching the offensive line. From that standpoint, and really the thing that's the same is, as you guys have asked, it's not necessarily what's about the NFL and college. I mean, it's football. I was very fortunate to my dad was a high school coach, and I coached in high school right out of college. And I went to Division II, and then I went to Division I. I stayed in Division I a long time, and then I went in the NFL. And one thing that's helped me is I worked for some really, really strong, good football coaches. Not everybody gets that opportunity. I mean, the way I was trained as a coach, the way I was brought up, I mean, I appreciate that every day. And it motivates me to share that, with not just young coaches, but young players. But the training aspect is, I really don't think of, I'm trying to think of one thing that I alter, and I can't. I mean, it's just a two-man sled. The drills I've done in the NFL are the same drills that we do here. The shoots, we do the same thing. Pass blocking, everything is, it's not different. In the Big Ten, okay, all right, and Coach Yano tells me, you got to practice like a pro. Well, the Big Ten is, okay, all right, is the NFL, and say it's not, but you better train because you're going to play, you're going to play against men, and we have some young guys, and they're going to get out there against men. That's going to be tough, but we're going to coach them, and we're going to help them through it, and you won't see anything. The best thing about offensive line, if you don't see anything wrong happening out there, then we're playing together as a unit pretty good, and that's our goal.